This channel is proudly sponsored by the Red Room. Please check out the link to their store in the description and in the pinned comment below. Here is a trailer of one of their tabletop RPGs.
In the heart of darkness, where shadows waltz with unhinged madness, I have gazed into the abyss and found a truth so stark it burned my soul.
The Shadow War begins now. Are you ready for the new flesh?
Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Walking Dead Universe role-playing starter set. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to take a look at combat, the included scenario, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this set. When it comes to combat, there are three modes of combat in this system. You have duels, brawls, and fighting the dead. Duels occur when two characters face each other. You have one-on-one situations, and it is all solved by making a single opposed roll. The character obtaining more successes deals damage, but if there is a tie, both deal damage to each other. So it is quite possible for two combatants to kill one another. But usually you want to put everything to your advantage, using the best weapons, perhaps fighting from an advantageous position and the like. You could even get attacked by walkers during the confrontation, and this is solved with a single roll that doesn't cost an action. Then we have brawls. Brawls occur when you have more than two participants in a fight. It is handled almost the same way, but with phases. You have taking cover, ranged combat, close combat, movement, first aid, and other actions in that order. So for example, at the start of the fight, perhaps you want to rush for cover. Maybe it's an automatic success, or maybe you need to roll mobility. Then ranged combat happens, because usually firearms and projectile weapons are quite fast. Then close combat occurs, followed by movement. Perhaps you want to switch from sections within the same battlefield. Then you carry out first aid, and you can take other actions as well, perhaps related to the context of the situation. All living player characters and non-player characters have 3 health points. When a player character loses all of their health points, they are broken. If you take damage while broken, you are killed. You can apply first aid to help someone recover from the broken condition, and you naturally recover 1 health point per day. When it comes to non-player characters, they are usually killed when they are broken. Armor, of course, can help you reduce the damage. Now, when it comes to a player character getting broken, you have to roll on the critical injuries table. Perhaps you end up with a cut open leg, a punctured lung, a destroyed eye, a shattered kidney, or worse. So some of these wounds are lethal and some others are non-lethal, like becoming winded or getting a knee injury, or perhaps getting your teeth knocked out. But you have information on the time limit when it comes to treating the character in time before that character dies. The penalty your wound applies, for example, a destroyed eye applies a -3 penalty. Crushed intestines, a -3 penalty as well. What about a caved-in forehead? A -4 penalty. That is if you survive the wound. When it comes to recovery time, perhaps it takes weeks or months to recover from a lethal injury. Again, if you survive it, you need to receive specialized attention, perhaps even specialized medical gear, depending on the injury. You have information on various hazards such as explosions, falling, getting hungry and tired, because the dead and other survivors are not going to be the only things to worry about. You also have information on various weapons, the bonus that they apply to your roll, and the damage that they deal. Remember that if you roll more 6s than needed for a particular attack, then those 6s turn into additional damage. Now, when it comes to fighting the dead, you have to understand the concept of swarm size and threat. Swarm size is basically that. A swarm size of 1 represents 5 to 10 walkers. A swarm size of 3 represents 21 to 50 walkers. And imagine a swarm size of 6, 1000 or more walkers. And what about threat levels? Threat levels represent the danger a particular swarm poses. For example, it could be a size 1 swarm, pretty small. But if that swarm is within a couple of meters close to you, perhaps it's a threat level 3 or 4. But what if the dead are in your face surrounding you? They are just inches from you. Then it's threat level 6. When it comes to the size of the swarm, you fight the swarms of zombies by making rolls, and usually in cooperation with other survivors. These swarms are highly dangerous. You can reduce their size as you cut and stab and shoot the zombies or walkers. But in order for you to win the round, you need a total number of successes equal to or greater than the swarm threat. Only then will you have a chance to reduce the size of the swarm. And when it comes to the threat, you need to find some circumstance to place distance between you and those nasty walkers. When it comes to sizes of 4 or above, you can just barely reduce the size of the swarm when you win that round. But this usually means that you need to keep on fighting in order to reduce the swarm to size 3 or lower to get away from it. The size and threat will go up and down as you succeed and mess up in different roles. Perhaps you make too much noise and more walkers are attracted to your location. Or perhaps you are careless and get too close to an incoming swarm, or you didn't notice a swarm just around the corner and now the threat is 5, perhaps even 6. Now when it comes to the included scenario, the Wolves Den, this is actually a really good survival mode scenario. It is expected that you finish this scenario in a single session. The premise is quite simple. You are a group of survivors, of course, and you recently welcomed this new survivor by the name of Matthew Green. He actually ended up romancing or enticing Rebecca Lee, who is supposed to be the girlfriend of the leader of your group. And so they eloped together, they went away, taking valuable gear and even a vehicle belonging to your group. So now you need to hunt them down. Remember that this review is going to contain spoilers, major spoilers. Each of the different player characters that you are going to be role-playing as has a secret or an agenda. In the case of the leader, he actually wants to go to kill Matthew Green because he stole his sweetheart. So each of the different survivors has unexpected attitudes, behaviors during the course of the adventure. It is up to the player to roleplay these secrets, these agendas. The pacing is really good. First, you start to track down these runaway survivors. You realize that they have been taken or kidnapped by another faction, which are the Wolves. You track them down to an abandoned settlement. Perhaps you end up surprised by walkers as you are looking for food, ammunition, etc. You may end up obtaining an ally. You may end up confronting a couple of the Wolves. And eventually, perhaps, you will reach their hideout in Evergreen. This group is a bit insane. Some of you have already recognized the Wolves from the 5th and 6th season of the TV series. And these Wolves are very well organized, they are quite deadly. It is up to the player characters to find a way to rescue the survivors. And I can tell you from running this module twice that things are quite unpredictable. Taking into account the secrets and agendas of the player characters, the swarms of walkers that you will encounter here and there, how well protected the hideout of the Wolves is, it is very difficult to tell how the player characters are going to confront the situation. Perhaps they want to go in and go out immediately, like ghosts, just going into the hideout, rescuing the survivors. Or maybe they want to eliminate the entire group of wolves stationed in that hideout. It is not impossible, but definitely you need solid tactical and strategic thinking. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you end up wounded by a zombie, this is not the end of the world. Perhaps you only ended up cutting yourself a bit as you fell on top of some sharp objects that did not inflict lethal damage while you were fighting against the zombie. Perhaps the zombie only hits you, perhaps it accidentally slams you against an object, but perhaps you are bitten in the throat and you die. Or maybe you are bitten in some limb or part of your body and you need to remove the infected area or section. and perhaps you may end up not surviving the surgery. So what do I think of the Walking Dead universe role-playing starter set? I can only recommend this to two types of players or people. First, collectors. They will definitely appreciate the quality of the components. The only other person interested in this role-playing starter set is someone that likes the maps, the threat counter, the included dice, and the scenario, because the scenario is actually really good, and the maps and secret agendas really pull you into the experience. But for everyone else, because of the horrible, perhaps even the worst roleplay instructions that I have seen, and the lack of information on the dice that the non-player characters need to roll, I would recommend that in that case, if you're not attracted by the components, the scenario, etc., I would recommend that you skip this one and you get the core book instead. Because the core book comes with an included survival scenario that is just as good as the Wolf's Den. And there's also a complete campaign. So you have the complete rules, the complete campaign, the scenario, and many other things related to the setting, etc. In that case, skip the role-playing starter set. But like I said, if you are a collector, or if you like the components, the scenario, then in that case, get the role-playing starter set. Thank you for watching this review. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. This has been Abraham El Jaguar, a professional game master. If you want me to run a game for you, please check out the pinned comment below. And remember, master roleplay and you will master the game. Once again, thank you, and see you later.